First of all, I want to say a few words, and then I want to let the mayors and the judges who are available, because we do have media not only from the Valley, but we also have some of the national media also, and we also have media from San Antonio and Laredo that are on this Zoom. So we will, I'll say a few words, and then after that, no particular order, I'll let the folks, because we got folks here from different counties, and as you know, we did have people from Del Rio all the way down to Brownsville. First of all, thank you so much for being here this morning. I think some of y'all have heard me for the last 6 months. What I've been asking the administration is not only listen to the immigration activists, but you need to listen to the border communities, and you also need to listen to the men and women in green and blue, DHS. I want to thank the Secretary because they've done a couple things that are important, and that is, as you said, as I've said in the past, we got to have some sort of repercussions. You just can't let people coming in to just come in. And about a week ago, the administration started deporting people under Title 42, expelling people under Title 42, but they're flying them down to the southern part of Mexico, and then Mexico is busing them over to Guatemala. I think that is very, very important, but we need to do more to show people visuals that don't come, otherwise we're going to deport you. And again, I believe in legal migration. I don't believe in illegal migration. And as we've said in the past, if you have 100 people that ask for asylum, 10 to 12% are going to be accepted, and the other 90 to 88% are going to be rejected. So why are we letting everybody in? So that is one thing. The second thing is the Secretary, and I want to thank him for being here, because it's not only the immigration activists, but it's also listening to the border communities. And as I've said, all I'm doing is just pretty much repeating or echoing what the border communities, and I'll let them say in a few minutes the same thing that I've been saying for a long time, and I think it's important for them to hear this. The second of all, the men and women in green and blue need help. Bottom line, they're strained, they're overworked. They don't need just a pat in the back. They actually need the resources, as many of the mayors and the county judges. They need the technology, the personnel, the equipment, so they can do their job. What are we looking at? Let me give you the latest numbers as of October, well, from the fiscal year that started October 1st of 2020 till August 11th of just yesterday. Let me give you the total encounters. And keep in mind the encounters, the numbers are the ones that don't even include the getaways. Getaways could be, and I've asked this question, it could be 10%, 15%, 20%. So whatever numbers I give you, you can add some numbers to the getaways. Total encounters as of 8/11/2021 for FY21, total encounters were 1.3 plus million individuals for the whole U.S. Texas is handling about 67% of all the encounters, which adds up to almost 897,000 individuals. Let me give you the sector by sector encounters, total encounters. El Paso for FY21, 163,000 individuals. I'm just rounding them just off a little bit. The Rio sector, 194,000 individuals. Laredo, the Laredo sector is about 98,000 individuals. And then the Rio Grande Valley, 443,000. So the majority of the people that are coming here, basically the Rio Grande Valley is getting about 20,000 individuals, a little bit over 20,000 individuals a week. So this is where the work is being done. We talked about several things, expelling people, putting that as they're flying down people. We've also said you cannot play defense on the 1 yard line. And for many years I've been saying, if you play defense on the 1 yard line here at the U.S.-Mexico border, you're going to lose out. You got to play defense on their 1 yard line, which is working with on the southern border with Mexico and Guatemala and those countries. So we've talked about that. As you know, a couple of days ago, Secretary Mayorkas was in Mexico along with the Assistant Secretary or the security person at the White House, Tony Blinken, and they talked about some of the work that's being done over there. What exactly, we did ask that question. I think we'll talk about that later. But the bottom line is Mexico, our neighbors to the south, can do more. They can do more. They've done it in the past. In fact, back in 2015, 2016, they were actually deporting more people than the U.S. Border Patrol was doing. So I can say they can do a lot more. And, you know, how they negotiate that, how they work that out, that will be revealed later on. But I can say that on that meeting, about 7 million plus vaccines were given or are going to be given to Mexico for different reasons. But again, there are ways that we can work with Mexico. The non-essential, I'll finish with this, non-essential border crossings, we're very open about that. In talking to them, we see Mexicans fly in, we see undocumented people come in, but the legal visa holders that spent before the pandemic over $19 billion are not coming in, We got to work with Mexico, and I think everybody saw this story where Abraham basically, and I need to send him a WhatsApp and ask him, but he's basically saying we don't think it's going to happen on August 21st, but we're hoping that after that, we cannot let another shopping season go by, because that's where most of the businesses on the border make their business. So again, what's going to happen, what happened, I think, we're asking that, so what really happened from here? I think it was more in the listening mode. He met again with the border sheriffs and the police chiefs this morning. He's going to be meeting with the NGOs. He met with mayors and county judges, and I have to say, the folks who are present here were very passionate, and I'm really happy that that he heard what we have to say on this. So on this, I don't know who's going to go first, but we'll let the hometown folks, the mayor,
we'll let the mayor go first.
The mayor, the county judge, and from here, Mayor Villalobos, and of course the judge, and then we'll let you take it from there.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you.
Actually, it was a very interesting conversation. And of course, we thank you, Congressman, for being here, and Secretary Mayorkas. It's very important that we finally had somebody at the level that we were seeking. Of course, we can't get our vice president, we can't get the president. Secretary Mayorkas is, fortunately, I think the person we needed. As the Congressman expressed, there was a lot of issues. There was actually even, I feel, anger by our community. And I think he was listening, I really do. There's a lot of the issues that some may not understand. For example, Rio Grande, Laredo, even though they have the issues, they still don't have the issues McAllen has. You know what? Everybody wants to be number one, and McAllen is number one. But in this situation, I don't think we want to be. We told, or we talked, we informed what the issues are. At the very end, I think we know. One common thing we all had is curtail it, stop it, pause it, moratorium, whatever term you want to use. That's what we need. Give them time to fix a policy, do whatever they need to do. So that's what happened today, and I just want to once again express my thanks to Congressman, Secretary Mayorkas, and of course everybody being here to support all of us. Thank you.
Well, I also want to thank Congressman Cuellar for bringing here, and of course our Mayor Villalobos. To kind of summarize the meeting, he told us he knew what the problem was. And he knew that the model that the federal government is using is not sustainable and it's not working. So for us to try to define the problem over and over again does not solve the problem. So he wanted to hear from us as to what we thought would be helpful for them to consider in order for us to fix this. Well, as you can imagine, these are not easy solutions to find. If they were easy, we would have already done them and we've already been implementing them. What we find ourselves is we're right in the middle of a pandemic. That pandemic is surging right now to a high point that a lot of people are very, very nervous. Where schools are going to go back, children are going to go back to school. Right now we have a governor that says that he doesn't want us to use masks, so we're preparing to send our children back into our schools without any protection whatsoever. We know that that is very dangerous. Why does that, an additional concern behind the obvious love for the children that we have, is that we're already at pretty well capacity in our hospitals and our ability for us to serve people that need health care. What is the contribution of this immigrants to our health care burden? Right now we have 25 people that are immigrants in our hospitals. 14 of them have COVID and 11 have other conditions. We want to humanely, safely take care of all people, including the immigrants that are here with us. But they're coming at a time that we need all the capacity we have in order for us to serve our community. So the suggestion that we gave him was to put a moratorium, you can call it whatever you want to. I think, I'm not a lawyer, but I think a moratorium is nothing more than the legal delay of a law, is simply to stop the flow of asylum-seeking immigrants, because that is where the highest volume is coming. And it's a responsibility that belongs to the federal government, but however, the reason that we have Also Duas Park and over 2,000 people in Also Duas Park is because the federal government doesn't have any place for us to take them. And when these people are turned loose, when they're turned loose by the federal government, they are free people. They are free people. They can do and go anywhere they want to once here. But what happens when they do have COVID? What do you want us to do? Just let them go free? That's why we made an investment to try to protect you and protect them and put them in a place where we can really take care of them. So we're hopeful that now that he understands the problem fully, that there's really there's only one quick solution that we need immediately because of the surge in numbers, and that is to put a stop to the flow. And hopefully he'll come back with a plan to do that. Thank you.
Go ahead. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm Pete Saenz, Mayor of the City of Laredo. I do want to thank Congressman Henry Cuellar and, of course, the Secretary Mayorkas and his staff for putting the meeting together. This is really my first encounter, so to speak, with someone other than our congressional leaders to visit with. This has been ongoing. The message was clear. Whatever system they're using is broken and needs fixing. I even questioned the genuineness of the policies that are in place. How serious are you all? And it appears that it's taken too long to truly start listening to the border community. At least I and others that hadn't had the opportunity of expressing ourselves. And the dialogue was very candid, very, very candid, very passionate, as some of us have expressed. But personally speaking, I think that had to be had. There's a lot of frustration. It's been ongoing for months, and we don't basically see any workable solutions. The mode here, and with all due respect to our Secretary Mayorkas, was basically a listening mode, just to take in. But we've been complaining, and people supposedly have been listening for some time. Well, we need solutions, short-term solutions. And this proposal that we're saying, a moratorium, pause it, shut that valve until such time as we have a plan in place. Washington put a plan in place, and basically that plan should entail a more efficient way of dealing with the migrants, adjudicate them quicker, have these federal judges here. Why send them further on north when we know that the vast majority of them will be returned? It makes no sense. We need efficiency. We're not even at that point yet. We're asking for resources. Personally speaking, 70% of the solution is reinforced border patrol. Those people are tired, frustrated, they need reinforcements. And I'm told that the Border Patrol budget has not been increased. That's part of the solution. Those are the people that we need to have side by side and reinforced. Because without them, this thing is just going to continue to grow and mushroom, and I don't know where it's going to take us. But apparently it's a tsunami now, and something should have been done early on. That's the past. Hopefully now this is a step forward toward hopefully some solutions. The only thing I heard personally is that the Secretary and others have been visiting with Mexico. Wonderful, wonderful. And that hopefully in the short term, there may be some solutions that could be effective for the border. I stand ready to listen to that. I stand ready also to do our part. But keep in mind, this is a federal issue created by failed federal policies. And they're expecting us, smaller entities, communities, to bail them out. That's very, very unfair. And I know we can do better as a country, and we should do better. And my expectations are high, and I won't quit complaining or talking until such time as we see some viable, practical solutions. Be a Democrat, be a Republican. We need to secure the border. Way back then, each president brings their policies. We respect that. But here, my understanding was that this current administration wanted to do a virtual wall, an intelligent wall. And we haven't seen any elements of it. I personally haven't seen it. I don't think any of us. What does that consist of? Personnel. Bring more personnel, Border Patrol, CBP, technology, road building in our river edges, where Border Patrol will have a decent accessibility to whoever's coming across, clearing the brush area for lines of sight. That they ran on. But what is it, 8 months now, and we haven't seen any of that? Anyway, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Judge. Mayor?
There's no doubt that we have.
Can you give your name?
My name is Villarreal, mayor of the great city of Rio Grande City.
Yes, sir.
There's no doubt that we have a humanitarian crisis. There's no doubt. However, and I say this however, we have had a humanitarian crisis under every president, regardless of party, for the last several decades. Now, what are we going to do about it, right? At this point, if we continue in the same trajectory, then 10 years from today, we're going to have the same conversation. So what are we going to do now? Now, and that's one of the things that we need to propose is we need to prioritize immigration reform. We need to prioritize it. However, do we have the political will to address it? And so far, we have not. But for the short term, my colleagues, I echo the same sentiment. We need real solutions to what is happening here. And I know we're going to continue to work with the different entities to make this happen. However, it is time that we address this from a comprehensive standpoint and again, avoid having the same conversation for the next 10, 15 years. So again, and I want to stress this, it is not on a single party. It's not the red or blue, it's the red, white, and blue. I know somebody mentioned that. Point is, how do we address it together? How do we go about addressing it from the root? And then as well, help out our communities we have to increase the resources that's necessary to manage the flow of migrants. There's no doubt. So with that, it was a very successful meeting. I think we are going to get some true results, and I am confident that we're going to go in that direction. And the gentleman here, we all stress the same sentiments. We need real solutions to what is happening here. And of course, our constituents are asking us as well, what is going to happen? So with that, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Webb County Judge, Tano, Tijerina. You know, everybody's talking about this border crisis. Well, some media outlets are talking about these border crises, not all of them, which is fathoms me to begin with. All of us up here have taken many, many hits locally. And my expression is this: we're at the local authorities. You have the state, then you have the federal. We're fighting a battle with our hands behind our backs and unarmed. We need the federal government. We need President Biden to be looking down here and taking care of not just the red, not just the blue, but the red, white, and blue, because we all are Americans. I'm going to tell you this. People have been saying this for a while already on the media outlets constantly, is that it's a border crisis. Let me tell you all something. Let me stop you all right there and then. This is not just a border crisis. This is an United States of America crisis. Why? Because these people that are seeking asylum, which, by the way, all of us up here, we will give our shirts off our back to RIMS, to refugees, immigrants, and migrants. We will. We're doing everything we can. Our NGOs are fighting daily for us to be able to help in our local authorities. Constantly, our non-governmental organizations are constantly working hard. Half of these people that are being bused, there's 40% positive rate of COVID. 40%. The other 3 hours that they've been on the bus, let's say, I'm talking about Webb County, when they get there, that's 100% exposure. And by the way, they test them. The government doesn't test them, federal government doesn't test them, the local authorities test them, which is a problem in itself. Why? Because, and I'm just gonna speculate here, but the problem is this: if they start testing them, what are they gonna do with them? Because now there's going to be a lot more eyebrows being raised, because there is a major problem that most of the country's not aware of. I have friends all over the country thinking, I would hate to be down there in the border. And I tell them, well, I would hate to be where you're at. And they said, why? I said, because these people are flying or busing to your location near you with the COVID. Look, this is nothing different than 2014 and 2019. We didn't even have these kind of meetings in 2019. Because the major difference is COVID. COVID. I do not like the fact that we have to go into an airport and they're telling you over and over again that your health is our highest priority. Federal government is telling you that. Well, I'm here to say, prove it to us. Prove it to us. Because we want to help the federal government. Help us, help you. This is what we stand for. This is where we're all together today. Thank you to Congressman Cuellar. Thank you to all these gentlemen that are behind me, because we need to stay united, because this is not just a border issue. This is an American issue that we all need to deal with today. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge. Anybody else? Why don't we close up for questions? O en español, ok. Unas palabras en español. Bueno, primero tuvimos una junta muy importante con el secretario Mayorkas, donde por meses de enero pidió que se debe de juntar con las comunidades. Es muy importante que no nomás oigan de las personas que quieren la reforma de inmigración que todos nosotros queremos, los activistas, pero también debe de tomar el tiempo con las comunidades en la frontera y con los hombres y mujeres en verde y azul también. Fue algo muy importante, hablamos y ahorita lo voy a dejar a los alcaldes y los jueces que digan unas palabras en español, pero fue importante que venga aquí a oír a los jueces, a los alcaldes, y ahora en la mañana estuvo con los jefes de policías y también con los sheriffes también. Ahora en la tarde va a estar con los NGOs, Catholic Services y otras personas. Es importante que deben de entender que lo que estamos viendo ahorita es algo muy difícil. Como dijo el juez Tijerina, lo vimos en 2014, 2019, ahora en este año, pero la cosa que es muy, muy diferente es que tenemos el problema con COVID-19. Hablamos también que debemos de abrir los puentes, y si lo pedimos a él, si se sienten con las comunidades en la frontera, pueden hallar una manera donde se pueden abrir los puentes, porque ustedes saben, antes del COVID venían más de 18 millones de mexicanos, donde gastaban más de 19 billones de dólares en los Estados Unidos. Es decir, lo que estamos viendo es mexicanos pueden volar, entrar a los Estados Unidos. Las personas sin documentos, que estamos hablando de más de 1.3 millones de personas que han cruzado nomás este año pueden entrar, pero los mexicanos que tienen las visas que vienen a gastar dinero aquí no pueden entrar. Y por eso tuvimos una buena discusión. También él estuvo en México, donde esperamos, me dijo, porque yo tuve una junta con él antes, y me dijo, vamos a hacer unos anuncios pronto, porque es importante que el gobierno americano trabaje con el gobierno mexicano para parar esto. En 2014, 2015, cuando la administración de Obama estaba trabajando con ellos, con los mexicanos, México estaba parando más personas que el Border Patrol de los Estados Unidos. Es que sí hay una manera de trabajar con los mexicanos. Y esperamos con la ayuda que más de 7 millones de vacunas que lo vamos a dar a los mexicanos, esperamos que trabajen con nosotros un poquito más. En esto, unas palabras en español, ya que tomamos las preguntas en inglés, en español y francés.
Una pregunta rápida. ¿Qué era su reacción cuando ustedes le pidieron que pare el flujo de los que están buscando asilo? ¿Qué era su reacción? Y también, ¿por qué no han hecho algo?
Sí, mira, lo que queremos, yo lo pidió a la administración unas cosas. Primero, deben de parar y deportar personas que no deben de estar aquí. Ustedes saben que si hay 100 personas aquí, se van a frente de un juez de migración, el 88%, 90% se van a rechazar. ¿Por qué estamos dejando a todas las personas entrar en una cosa falsa? Porque sabemos que muchos de ellos, casi el 90% se van a rechazar y se van a regresar. Creemos que se va a regresar porque ahorita hay más de 1 millón de personas con una orden donde se deben de deportar y todavía están aquí. Y eso es algo que necesitamos que ver. Están tomando unas posiciones, pero cuando lo pedimos que debe de parar, no recibimos la pregunta o la respuesta que debemos de recibir. I don't know if anybody wants to answer.
Sure, add a little something. Lo que ha pasado es que cuando tuvimos nuestra junta con el secretario Mayorkas, una de las cosas que le expresamos y seguimos expresando, que este tema de migración no es municipal, no es del condado, no es ni del gobernador. Okay. Entonces le estamos explicando, mira, tienen que hacer algo. Como dicen en inglés, the buck stops here. Aquí, ¿quiénes son los que tienen que ser? Y esos son los federales, sea el presidente con una orden ejecutiva o sea el Congreso que actúen. Hemos tratado y hemos hablado con ellos tocante muchas veces, que hablan de Comprehensive Immigration Reform, para arreglar todo. No lo están haciendo. Les hemos decidido, mira, arreglen DACA. Es un tema que hasta la mayoría de los republicanos están a favor y la mayoría de los demócratas. Arreglen eso y no lo han arreglado. Arreglen the Guest Worker Program porque necesitamos trabajadores. Sabemos que nuestros trabajadores están más altos de edad. Sabemos que el número de gente, de niños que están naciendo está bajo. Necesitamos trabajadores, pero no lo hacen. Y ahora estamos en el tema que es un tema que no nos pertenece a nosotros y miren cómo estamos. Aquí estamos todos con este problema que no ha sido creado por nosotros, pero exigen que nosotros nos metamos y hagamos el trabajo de ellos. Y eso no es correcto. Solo le pedimos, como hemos dicho, mira, lo más importante ahorita, mientras que toman tiempo para arreglar sus pólizas en Washington, es paren el movimiento de los inmigrantes. Cualquier manera, sea por orden ejecutiva, sea por póliza del Congreso, hagan algo. Y eso no estamos teniendo el problemita. De que nos ayudan con dinero, con fondos, nos están ayudando. Pero ese no es el tema. El tema es que siguen cruzando y ahora no es como era hace 3 semanas, 2-3 semanas. Antes lo podíamos controlar. Ahora no lo podemos controlar. Y luego le pones el tema también de COVID. COVID se ha levantado entre los inmigrantes de 4 o 6%, ahora arriba de 15, 16%. Y lo que no entiende mucha gente es que no tenemos autoridad para detenerlos. Si ellos se quieren ir, se van. Ahora tenemos familias de East Coast, de California, from the West Coast, the East Coast, vienen y los levantan. ¿Qué cree que está pasando con las enfermedades? No es solamente el tema de inmigración, ahora es el tema de inmigración y también el tema de la salud de nuestro país, porque se está esparramando en todo el país. Esperamos, le explicamos y claro que dijo que va a checar en esas cosas porque claro que no nos puede decir inmediatamente las pólizas que están haciendo, pero esperamos que ojalá que tengamos una respuesta favorable.
Congressman, we keep hearing different positivity rates from different communities, and I understand. So it's up to each community to try and figure out if it can test those immigrants being released. Is that correct? Is there any way to get an across-the-board accurate representation of positivity rates?
Yeah, look, the federal government, and this is when this first came up at the very beginning, because December 11, 2020, I was telling the Biden administration, hey guys, y'all better look at the transition team. I said, you better look at, because the numbers are rising. They started under the Trump administration. They started going up. But in January, they really shot up. And you've seen the numbers that are being coming up. I think fiscal year over 1.3 million. So at the very beginning, I said, are y'all going to test them? Well, first of all, and I think, Judge, you said this, they were not even vaccinating their own Border Patrol. I called the administration in December, said, hey, we got vaccines. Are y'all going to do that? And they said, it's going to be complicated. I said, what do you mean complicated? Well, they got to go to the local folks or to the VA. These folks stood up and they vaccinated most of the Border Patrol and CBP officers. So start off with that. Vaccination of their own people. It was done by the local government. Second of all, on the testing, they said, we don't do testing. That's not our mission. So then it basically became a local issue according mainly to the NGOs. So that's why we have different things. Is there something across the policy? I looked at that at the very beginning. They're not going to do it. So therefore, the burden, as it's been repeated over and over again, falls on the local government. If there is a reimbursement, as you know, the program, actually we had Michael Lee, the head of the Emergency Food and Shelter. I think the Valley knows this very well because I've said this over many years. The first model that I set up in 2014, the money was supposed to go federal government to the state. It got stuck at the state government and the local governments. So in 2019, I changed the law to allow it to go directly to the local governments. And now anybody can ask their local United Way and they can make the applications and it's working. But as I said, the money helps, but it doesn't solve the issue of this overflow. The speed bump that we have here, large numbers. When you're getting here in the Valley, 20,000 people plus a week, and remember, and you know this very well, that what we're seeing right now is that traditionally March, April, May, and June, this are peak months. July, August, they're not stopping. In fact, they're increasing it right now. So it's more on a case-by-case basis according to the local governments.
Mayor Saenz, we briefly talked with you a couple days ago. Can you first of all explain or tell us how many migrants are being treated at your local hospitals as more than 40 await a bed?
Correct. Yeah, there's been a process there in the city of Laredo where we're taking the overflow of the RGV area, this area here into Laredo, to a tune of 200 more or less a day. It's gotten to the point in Laredo that we had to file a lawsuit against the federal government simply because we had very limited NGO capacity, and then they got quarantined, and then to top it off, our hospital capacity is extremely limited. We're a severely underserved community medically, primarily because lack of staffing as many hospitals throughout the state are now experiencing. So we had no other choice but to enter into the busing agency business, the city of Laredo. So in essence now, we settled the lawsuit. Border Patrol actually takes these 200 migrants to their facility and they process, and then quickly they take them to a facility that the city owns, and then we in turn bus them. But the question we get is, Mayor, you're not testing? How insensitive, how irresponsible. we don't have the capacity, we don't have the infrastructure. Although the NGOs, they're good-natured, they want to do the best they can, but their capacity is also, I think, Holding Institute is the largest NGO. Their capacity for positives is 75, and then with the families. So anyway, it's created such a big issue. We're not blaming the migrants, frankly, for the hospital situation or the COVID. Some communities, they may impact. Yeah, and I want to be clear about that too. The migrants are not contributing to the COVID situation in the Laredo area. Just ourselves, our residents, are having such a big issue. They're even, fighting for beds. So for the last 9 days, we had 0 ICU beds in Laredo, and about 40 people and over for waiting. The hospitals go on diversion frequently. So, we're having big issues, medically. And we don't have a pediatric facility or unit there too, so that even further complicates it. So it's forcing us to just take the migrants. We don't test, and then they go to different cities in Texas to make their connections to further follow their journey northward to other cities in the U.S.
But to be clear, none of those people hospitalized are migrants.
No, very. Pardon?
It's a reporter from Laredo.
Okay. Yeah, no. Currently, no, we get 1 or 2 maybe every other day or something like those lines. The last one we've had, I think, was a 3-month-old child that had COVID and pneumonia, and that child had to be transferred someplace else. So again, it's not the migrant population that's totally impacting, but it's gotten to the point now that any other layer of population that comes into our community is truly fighting for a bed there in the city of Laredo. And I personally feel, and I think, I don't want to speak for the other mayors, but our people should have a preferential right. I mean, they live there. The federal government has a choice. The federal government can take them someplace else. So we have to protect our people. And at this point, every bed is important. Thank you.
How did Secretary Mayorkas actually...
¿Perdón?
¿Algún remarca en español, por favor?
Sí, cómo no, en español. 5 minutos más, con mucho permiso.
Okay.
One
You want to
more
summarize?
One
Yeah.
more question,
Okay,
Mayor.
we have 5 minutes. Yeah.
I promise it'll be very quick. How did Secretary Mayorkas react to your plan of shutting down the border to all migrants?
Well, he listened. The point of consolation, if you can call it that, was that he said that he had been visiting with some of the Mexican top officials, and that apparently they're working on a solution, and that he would disclose that solution sometime in the future, hopefully in the very near future. Hopefully, that's my hope. But that's the extent of, and that they've been working also and having these migrants apply remotely, from their countries of origin or somewhere close to those countries.
Can yeah, there you go. Let's allow a couple people from San Antonio and Laredo ask a couple questions.
Okay, perdón.
Una cosa, ¿qué es lo que la gente que no vive en la frontera, que dice, pobrecitos los inmigrantes, ustedes están tratándolos, esto es discriminación, etcétera? ¿Qué es lo que la gente que no vivimos en la frontera no sabe de lo que ustedes están pasando? ¿Lo puedes explicar, por favor?
Sí, gracias por la pregunta. Para nosotros es un acto de desesperación. No tenemos otra manera de expresarnos. Nos han forzado el gobierno federal en darnos esta cuestión, este problema que totalmente debe ser resuelto por el gobierno federal, pero tenemos que tratarlo nosotros. Y estamos haciendo todo lo posible en la mejor manera humana de tratar con los migrantes también. Tenemos nuestra gente y tenemos los migrantes también, pero yo digo, el gobierno federal tiene una opción. ¿Para qué ponernos esa presión a los locales cuando actualmente ellos tienen los recursos requeridos si gustan, por voluntad propia, pero no han ejercido esa voluntad? Y es lo que queremos ver, una expresión de voluntad del gobierno federal. Y eso es muy injusto, pienso yo en mi propia opinión. no se trata de, queremos tratar lo mejor que se pueda, pero no tenemos, ya llegó al punto que estamos a lo mínimo. Gracias.
I have a question for the Webb County Judge.
Alcalde, mi pregunta es, ¿cuál es la solución? ¿A qué vino Mayorkas? ¿Qué les dijo? Pues realmente
No, mira,
no entiendo qué pasó ahí.
Make it quick, and then after that we gotta close.
Okay. Sí, la solución, bueno, no ofreció soluciones a Miguel, vino a escuchar y escuchó bastante y escuchó a lo mejor además, porque unos nuestros aquí estuvo algo apasionado a la táctica, pero creo yo que esa es la frustración que tenemos y no hubo solución, pero sí nos platicó que había hablado con oficiales mexicanos y que están trabajando en una solución. No nos dio cuándo iba a pronunciarse esa solución, pero esperemos que nos ayude. Pero hasta la fecha el sistema está quebrado y se requieren muchas soluciones.
Is there, before we go, sorry, I want to be fair to everybody. Anybody from San Antonio? We heard from Laredo, San Antonio. If not, let me be fair to a couple of folks.
Thank you, Congressman.
Congressman, I'm from San Antonio. This is Brendan giving a San Antonio report. I was wondering if you had...
Well, his question was, what are Rep. Cuellar's views on the DHS contract with Family Endeavors to house migrant children in hotels, including the facility in Becos? Did he discuss this with the Secretary?
I was asking about the DHS contract with Endeavors. Did you have a chance to discuss that contract with the Secretary? And do you have any concerns?
No, we focus more on what was happening. We focus more on what was happening down here at the border, the frustration that the border communities, the burden that the border communities are facing here. So we did not go into any other particular contracts with them. This is the only thing we focus on. Question, and then question.
Thank you, Congressman, for looking out for me. My question is first for the Webb County Judge. You mentioned a 40% COVID positivity rate for migrants. I was wondering how you got that number. And then I had a question for anyone who would like to answer about...
Well, that's a great question, and I appreciate it. And let me just go ahead and for the record. So what's happening is, in all reality, Del Rio sector and the RGV sector is taking pretty much the majority of the immigrants coming in. Good thing about Webb County is, and I say good thing because it's not really that good of a thing, but what's happening is they're kind of going around us. And what they're saying is, the reason why they're going around us is because the cartels across the river are actually charging a little bit more. Whether that's true or false, we don't know, but that's we're kind of seeing that trend going. The point where we're trying to make is we're getting about 4 to 6 buses from RGV to Laredo because that's where they start processing. It's called a processing center, okay? So what they're saying is every single, because they obviously know the federal government's not testing, so when the buses get to the destination of Webb County, pretty much when the NGOs test them, they're noticing and they're finding out that 40% of the people that are in the buses pretty much have COVID. What does that tell you? And that's why I said it's 100%, you've already infected already 100% because they've already been in the bus almost 3.5 hours over there. So right around there, the answer to your question is that's how we're finding out. Our NGOs are testing almost every bus and it's around 40%. When the NGOs test them, they actually stay, our NGOs they're staying 10 days, quarantining them for 10 days, and then they're giving them a vaccination before they leave to their destination. Not necessarily all of them, but these are the ones that are happening too.
So
Thank you.
is the way that we're processing migrants spreading COVID since they're in such close proximity?
Repeat the question, I'm sorry?
Is the way that we're processing migrants spreading COVID since they're in such close proximity?
I would have to assume yes.
2 more questions here, and then we're going to close up. What, you going to let Steve go first? Or you're a gentleman, a scholar?
Congressman.
Steve?
Yeah, you said earlier that about 20,000 came across in the valley last week, or this week.
Well, 3 weeks ago, it was 20,000 plus. 2 weeks ago, it was 21,000. And then it was 22,000 last week. So I'll say an average of a little bit over 20,000 in just the RGV.
Okay. Are they telling you what percentage of those they're releasing into the community and what percentage have been sent straight back to Mexico?
Yeah, I don't have the ones here to the valley. I can get them, but I can tell you Title 8 and Title 42 are being used, as you know. Title 42, you don't deport, you expel people under that. So, and I'll be happy to show you some of the numbers here. I got the general numbers. So Title 42 is being used to expel most of them. If you are if you're 3 profiles, if you're an unaccompanied kid, you pretty much are going to come in. Your family units, some are being deported as long as the kids are not under the age, I hear, age of 6, whatever. And then, of course, depends on what the Mexican government, Tamaulipas, whatever, that's why they have those lateral movements, as you know, to find a place that they can send them. And then, but if you're an adult, most adults are going to be expelled. In Laredo, Laredo, for example, we get a few numbers of unaccompanied kids and family units. About 90 to 95% are single adults mainly from Mexico. So most of them are being returned. So it depends on whether you're Del Rio, Laredo, or the Valley, and the profile.
And then the judge said 40% in Laredo has COVID. Do you know the percentage in the Valley?
Well, no. No.
Well,
Just real quick, I'll let him answer that, but what I was saying is 40% when they're being bused to Laredo. So they're actually coming from the Valley. So that, that just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, actually, we're very fortunate that even though it has been going up, the positivity rate here has gone from 4 to 6 to 8 to a little over 60%. But I understand the issues, the problems that Laredo is facing now. If they're traveling together with some positive cases, by the time they get there, they may be having these issues. But here in Hidalgo County, or at least our area, whether it be in El Salduas or at the Catholic Charity Center in downtown McAllen, the positivity rate has been about a little in excess of 15%.
Last question.
¿Tienen números de cuántos han vacunado en las últimas semanas?
Esa información no la tenemos porque no es la obligación. Muchas veces lo que pasa, los hacen test, pero de vacunar nosotros no hacemos parte de eso.
Congressman, apart from the COVID situation and the logistical nightmare of processing so many people, what really is the impact on communities here, economically, socially, politically? I mean, it's pretty well contained, right? The flow is contained, people are pretty overwhelmed, but I mean, the respite center here is handling the situation. Laredo's handling the situation.
Yeah, look.
If you're a resident of North Laredo, is this really bothering you? Besides the optics.
Yeah, of course.
If I may, you know what? 2 weeks ago, I'd say probably 98% of the population in McAllen wasn't really concerned about this because everything was pretty orderly. You'd have the Border Patrol drop off, Catholic Charities pick up, take care of the issue. Unfortunately, about 2-3 weeks ago is when we started having this. So now a vast number of our population knows. 2 weeks ago or a week ago, we had to take an emergency action where we set up a couple of tents because we got a call from Catholic Charities that they were going to have to release 200 plus immigrants into the community. COVID or non-COVID, we didn't know. We had to take an action. We had about 30 minutes to do something, and we did. We acted, and we placed a few tents on 23rd Street, which were going to be there temporary just for a night while we figure out what we were going to do. The next day, thanks to Commissioner Villarreal, we were able to relocate to Ansalduas, which to us was a much better place. Now, you asked what about the economy? McAllen had been doing great. We have been doing great. It's a great place, and it still is. It's the 7th safest city in the country, and we want to keep it that way. That's why, even though it's not our responsibility to be involved in immigration for the purposes of public safety and the health of our community, we're going to do what we have to do, and we're going to keep on doing it. And fortunately, we're getting assistance from the federal government through FEMA, and that's very helpful. Our economy, though, has been good. Of course, we had an infusion of cash last year through the CARES Act, and now again through, American Rescue Plan. So we're doing okay. But even without that, our economy in McAllen is strong. But we're concerned about what's going to happen once the numbers start picking up again, because now, even though before, to me, I didn't see a correlation between the rise in Hidalgo County or the country as far as COVID and the immigration numbers, Now we have issues because now you go, they're picking up or trying to pick up family members in Ansaldúa, whether they're positive or not, they're picking them up. So it's not a border issue, it's not a border crisis, it's a United States issue and crisis. And that's why we're very glad that Senator Mayorkas came in today, and hopefully he will address some of the issues.
Yeah.
Can I have a quick answer for the gentleman? Yeah, he said.
Yeah, it's not
what-
optics, definitely not optics.
Why would it matter for a Laredo resident, to be concerned? Lack of hospital capacity.
Correct.
Be it a migrant, be it a resident, even ourselves as residents, we're having a huge issue with hospital beds and the overflow. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's, I just want to add, and we're going to close up with this, and I apologize. But look, it's not a matter of optics. I mean, look, when you have resources that are taken from the city because they have to, and the mayor and I and the judge, we all have spoken about this. It's more than just optics. Look, we care. We want to be compassionate with the immigrants, especially once the children are here. We're going to treat those children, for example, like if they're our own children itself. But when the local communities are being burdened, and imagine if you were a mayor and you're limited with hospital beds, and then you have somebody that's from Laredo versus somebody that might not be here, it puts them in a very difficult situation. So it's more than a matter of optics. This is reality that we're seeing down here. And I think, some of y'all have heard me on national TV, and I told the secretary, hey, listen, because I've gotten some phone calls of what I say on national TV. I said, all I'm doing is just repeating what you're hearing here today and from other public officials that we have from Del Rio all the way to Brownsville. So with that, I say thank you so much, and it's a pleasure being here with you. Muchas gracias. Thank you. Placer.